Aloha and welcome to a special edition of Spotlight Now with students from Kamehameha Schools Maui campus.
Today we're going to discuss two important topics that the students chose themselves about civic engagement and the devastating wildfires on Maui last August.
Here to host the discussion on the wildfires are Hokuala English and Kamale Pahukula. Thank you so much for being with us today.
Mahalo for having us.
Thank you.
We're so happy that you're here. I know that, the impact of the wildfires on Maui is really hard to overstate, but tell us about how it affected your school community in particular, Hokuala.
We felt like we had a kuleana, a responsibility to comfort our friends and our classmates in this time. So we took initiative and we collected donation drives as well as a uniform donation drive, to help the students get back into a transition back into school.
And Kamale, why did you folks decide to pick this topic to focus on today?
Yeah, this topic is something that's really important to our students and our school, since this was such a time of unity for our school. As well, now it's an opportunity for our generation to rise up and lead and show that we're active parts and members of the community.
We are really looking forward to this discussion.
Great. Well, before that happens, here is a video from Kamehameha Schools Maui about how the community organizations are coming together to help Lahaina recover.
Right after the fires, we were all one family. Across the Pai'aina, the reason we got so much done was because of how united we were.
He vai nui kalokahi. Unity has the power to inspire, to revitalize, to educate. Just beneath the ash and debris, Lahaina Maui is still rich, vibrant, and proud. The tight-knit Maui community has unified to help Lahaina recover, providing food, clothes, and a roof over the heads of thousands of their neighbors. Local organizations have come together to help Lahaina recover.
I'm Kainoa Horkajo, a Director of Community Development at GEM Hawaii. GEM Hawaii is short for Global Empowerment Mission. We are a global disaster and humanitarian aid organization, really focused on immediate disaster relief, and then here for the long haul with the long-term recovery and then the rebuilding efforts. We're helping build a temporary facility for Sacred Hearts, and now we're working on actually building actual physical housing.
Along with GEM, community organizations have persevered and supported Lahaina's recovery.
We had organizations that have been around for a really long time, and we also have organizations that just sprung up, groups of friends. We have all these partners that help in, and a lot of amazing donations from Be Strong and Life Straw and all of these amazing partners.
Although it will take years of full participation, Horkajo is encouraged by the continued support from these groups.
We think it's important to keep Hawaiian lands in Hawaiian hands. There's some things that are just key and core to Lahaina. Recognizing that the differences are not as important as what brings us together, that we're more alike than we are separate. Unity, even if we don't necessarily agree.
The public, from all across islands and beyond, are encouraged to support these locally based organizations that continue their efforts to strengthen and resurrect our town and our lahui.
We can't just rely on government funding. We need the friendly donations of people. If you can do small, go small. If you can go big, go big. You just got to keep on doing it because our neighbors need help. Our family needs help.
He vai nui kalokahi. This is Leilani Varas for Kamehameha Schools Maui.
Joining us now, we have two Lahaina residents, our Kamehameha Schools Maui classmate, Kylie Kalepa, and her father, legendary waterman, and community leader, Archie Kalepa. Mahalo for being here.
Thank you guys for inviting us on.
Aloha, thank you for having us.
Of course. How have you guys been?
Oh, we've been doing pretty good, We're actually super excited for today.
Yeah.
How are you doing?
Well, first I'd like to say how proud I am of Kylie and her sister through all of this. I think this has brought our family closer together, and it's not an easy. This fire has not been easy on our community. It has not been easy on a lot of our families in Lahaina, and so as we move forward, there's many challenges ahead.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Going on to that, months after the fires, how have you seen the community shift and grow?
You know, it's a day-to-day thing. The progress, the wins are little at this time, or small wins, should I say. But it's about moving forward. It's about putting our community in a mindset that we have to move forward. We have to holomua. And it's been slow. Progress has been slow, but for good reason. Part of the process for those of us that lost our homes, or those of us that live with homes that burned around us, we have to make sure that this community is safe, and that's part of the process moving forward.
Of course. Kylie, what's one way that you've personally moved forward through this day by day?
I think just reconnecting with my friends, you know, trying to bring back some normalcy to everything. Obviously, it's not going to be as it used to, but just kind of hanging out with your friends, you know, talking to them, making sure that they're okay, and just giving what they need in order to move on and kind of help them a little bit.
Yes, of course.
Yeah, I really think it's important that us, you know, as a future generation, support our friends and our classmates in times like these, you know, because there's going to be these moments in our life where we need the backbones, and that's our community.
Yeah.
So, Kylie, who's a role model you look up to in this, you know, Lahaina community?
This guy, he's been my biggest role model. You know, just seeing him step into action with all of this happening and everything that he's done to our community, and how our community has shown support to our family, and how he still gives when we think that there isn't more to give. He just keeps giving and giving and giving, and I'm so proud and so blessed to have this guy as my dad.
Archie, anything to add to that?
Wow. You know, this is why. This is the why we do these. We give 100% to our community, because the love of family, the love of place. I think there's nothing that can compare to the love of your family and the love of your place. And you know, you give undividingly, with no expectation. And how important that is. I don't consider myself a community leader, but maybe someone that can set the example of how we need to be and carry ourselves, especially in these times, is super important to the progress of our community.
Yes, of course. Speaking of your daughter, what role do you think young adults like us do play in the revitalization of Lahaina?
I think you guys play a vital key role in the future of Lahaina. Right now, it's a clear canvas. Mm-hmm. We can make the decisions on how we move forward as we rebuild Lahaina, and the importance of what that is and who needs to be involved in that process, for sure, is the next generation. Mm-hmm. And the next 5 generations to come, and how important that is moving forward. So I really, really like the fact that our younger generation is stepping up, and that they do have a voice. And you know, it's really, really impressing to see the younger generation speak up, not be afraid to ask the hard questions as we move forward. And that may be something that have hindered us in the past. And so I'm really, really excited for my daughter and for the many kids that I know in the Lahaina community that have stepped up, including the Lahaina football kids. You know, that's an impression of who we are as a people that come from this place that we love and call home, Lahaina.
Yes, of course. What's a specific example that you can give of how us young adults can really get involved in today's day and age?
You know, I think is not being afraid to speak up is super important. Something you see and you feel and you recognize that needs to change. Not being afraid to voice your opinion. And then getting involved from the ground up. I mean, not having to be told what to do, but just jumping in when the work needs to be done. And I saw that early on from a lot of kids in the community in Hawaiian homes that just came and said, "Uncle, what can I do? Dad, what can I do? What do we need to do? How can we move forward?" And from unloading boxes that were delivered to our hub, to transporting trash cans around the neighborhood, to delivering supplies. Yeah. It was really, really impressive to see, and recognizing what needed to be done and bringing that back.
Yes.
And which allowed us to really move forward.
Yeah, I think during that time too, I saw on the other side, even at War Memorial Disaster Shelters,
yes,
all the kids coming out, all their clubs, all the schools coming out to do as much as they could, which was just so amazing to see. And even now, they're just so motivated and moved to help throughout the community as well.
Yeah.
Kylie, what do you see as us, the future generation, what do you see the next steps for us to take?
I think, as he said, voice is probably one of the most important things because that's how it's going to get done. In the beginning, we did see a lot of our peers kind of testifying and going to these testimonies, sitting in meetings. I think we need to gather all the information that we have, use all the resources that we have, and then start to put the pieces together and start to do action and execute.
Yeah, that's really important. I agree. Uncle Archie, what do you believe are some difficult decisions that need to be made in the process in this decision-making time, in, as you said, the clean slate during this time?
Well, it's the difficult decisions doesn't come from one person. There's a metaphor at one time that I was talking about, that this lahaina was this canoe. And this canoe was broken and was sailing through this storm. And it was because we were using a Western compass, and we needed to adopt our Hawaiian star compass. And so there's 32 houses in that compass, which within each quadrant, there's 7 houses. And that's the difficult part, is having every house within that compass, whether it be OHA, whether it be DHHL, whether it be county, whether it be community, is everybody standing up, holding hands, and holding each other accountable. I think that's the most difficult thing moving forward with Hawaii, let alone Lahaina, is all of us holding each other accountable, but more importantly, listening to how each piece plays a part to the success of the heading of this canoe, which is based on the houses of this compass. It's, I think for us as Native people, that's the best way for us to explain it, because we understand it. It's been in our ma'olelo for thousands of years, and so it becomes second nature. We understand it. We just have to learn how to be reacquainted with it, have respect for one another, and then I think we can make good decisions moving forward.
Yes, that's truly important.
Yeah, I think it's important, that we instill our Hawaiian values and, use those knowledge that we get from our kupuna to help us move on and, keep going through these times.
Yeah, for sure.
Thinking about ike kupuna, really, what's another example of ike kupuna that can be used in this time? Kind of like the canoe, the va'a.
I think the ike of our kupuna they don't need to speak to us physically. I think all the signs are there. And it's recognizing that. It's paying attention to those details that can help guide us down the right path. When I look at places like Moku'ula, when I look at the struggles that we're having of water, we knew this for a very, very long time. We just didn't know how to address it. And I think now The vision is more clear than it's ever been in the direction that we need to head, the things that are important to place. If you do not take care of your community cannot take care of the people. If you cannot take care of your place cannot take care of your people. We have to take care of our place so that our place can take care of our people. That is Ike in its purest form. And I think as a people that understand place and where they come from and how important it is to the success for generations to come, the path is even clearer than it's ever been now.
Yes, very much. Mahalo for your mana'o. Before we continue our discussion, we have another video to share. Kylie, tell us about this story that you worked on.
So during the making of this video, what was going through my mind was just stressing the importance of voice. I also kind of wanted to highlight how using our voice and how, as you said, caring for our aina so it can care for us back. It's so important for us to take that step and start caring for it more than ever, just so it can help us revitalize and bring us up.
Yes.
It has been a little over 7 months since the devastating Lahaina fires. But despite all of this, Lahaina and its people have shown resilience. Through the love of their town, to the love towards one another, the Lahaina community has used their voice to take a step in a new direction. Amos Lonokailua Hewitt is the administrator of the Maui Emergency Management Agency, and he has seen the way community outreach has helped Lahaina move forward.
Really, the community came together to develop the plan, and it stayed together to implement the plan, to improve the plan, to see the plan all the way through, to provide the basic essentials that the community needed.
Zane Kikoa Schweitzer, a big wave surfer, ultimate waterman, and Lahaina community member, was one of the people that helped run a supply hub out in Kahana Boat Ramp.
Through the Lahaina fires, it was amazing to see how we were able to all come together and be able to assist where we can, be there where we can. And I think that was the beauty and the light of all this, is there's nothing that we can do better than to move forward Lokahi. I think at the end of the day, we are Lahaina. The people is what makes the place special.
This is Kali Kalepa reporting for Kamehameha Schools, Maui.
Mahalo for that beautiful video. In that video, we see beautiful clips of the Unity March. Can you tell us how you felt during that time for the community to come back together, kind of like how it was months ago?
So January 20th, we had this Uni March. We called it Ho'ulu Lahaina, and it was put on together by Lele Aloha. During this march, we had the idea to try and bring back normalcy and try to get everyone into a community gathering just so we can see each other again, And in that march, we had different ethnic groups. So we had Hawaiian flags, Japanese flags, Filipino flags, Fijian flags, Samoan flags, Tongan flags, just because those are all people who are part of the Lahaina community. So we threw those flags up and just marching together, using our voice, hearing mele, awesome mele, and then just being together again was pretty cool.
That sounds pretty amazing. How did you feel during that time?
When we first planned to do this unity gathering, it was about trying to get our community together. It was about seeing people maybe you haven't seen in the last 5 months. It was about people having conversation with people that you haven't had in the last 5 months since the fire happened. And, it was amazing. There was a lot of hoailonas. There's a whale giving birth. It was rain came in, and as you know, it never rains in Lahaina. Having all of the canoes be there, and just seeing all the ethnic community come together. It was just such an amazing time, and I cannot tell you how much people have come up to me and said, "Oh, thank you, we needed this." For me, it was confirmation that this was the right thing to do. There's also confirmation that we need to continue on this heading of being together, this heading of being in a place where we can be collective in decision making and moving forward. And I think that march kind of set the tone of what that's going to be like in the near future for this community. Yeah. And it was really good. It was really good for the soul. It was good for the people of Lahaina.
Yeah, I love having that symbol of the canoe, and just how you talked about earlier, the vault, and just moving forward with that as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, in the video, there was a remark about, executing the plan. Can you give us a little bit more detail of what that specifically means?
Well, it's about having a sail plan. I've been on many voyages on Hokulea, sailed around the world, and the success of each voyage is based around having a really good sail plan. The key to that sail plan is having everybody being able to contribute. But with this sail plan, this is how special this sail plan is. When you contribute to this sail plan, you're making the ultimate sacrifice. You're putting your grandmother on that canoe. You're putting your 1-month-old child on that canoe. So when you contribute to this sail plan, the success of this voyage is based around the success of your sail plan. With that being said, when you take to heart the sacrifice you're making by putting these people on that canoe, you think long and hard about the decisions you make to the success of the rebuild, or in a voyaging setting of this voyage. Mm-hmm. And so that's been really, really important. There's some issues that we as a community is facing. Housing, for instance, is a very, very important pressing issue, because we have over 6,000 people, not homeless, but houseless right now. And they're living in short-term rentals, which is the hotels. We need to move into midterm housing. But there's been a lot of struggles that have come with that. And I just want to get to the heart of what that is when you look at the possibility of building homes, temporary homes, and we look at what the resources are needed to do that, which is water, sewer, water being the biggest one. We are very limited right now. I don't know if it's because of global warming or because of what we've done for the last 150 years in regards to allowing our streams to go dry due to sugarcane farming. These are the kinds of real issues that we're facing today as we try and find solutions for housing moving forward. So we really, really have a hard road ahead of us when it comes to finding midterm housing. The ultimate goal is to get people back home. Now we're getting some momentum. We're moving at a quicker pace. The goal is to get our people home because there's rumors of people moving. They can't afford to rebuild. The longer we take, the harder it is going to be for them to keep that realization of, I can go home.
Yeah.
And so we're working really hard. FEMA, Army Corps of Engineers, the governor, the mayor, everybody's working really hard to make sure that we do it, but we do it right. Because we only have one chance to get this right. And if we don't do it right, there's going to be a lot of things that can cause setbacks. So we're heading in the right direction.
I agree, and I think it's important, that we look at the statistics and the numbers. Like you said, for example, the amount of clearance that they have done, you know, down there. It really shows us, and people that don't live out there, like, you know, we're progressing and we're trying to keep going through these times.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I really think it's important about what you said about Moku'ula and just having those different aspects coming back to life and just to come together to build these things up. Kylie, hearing about people moving away, how does it make you feel, and what do you want to say in that?
Well, personally, I have a couple friends that moved away, but not permanently. I hope they do come back, and you know, I think it's just the drive that they want to come back. I know a lot of people from Lahaina, myself included, we all have this connection and like this pride for our hometown, and like being away from it, like we just can't. We always have this gut feeling like, oh, we want to go home. And so I think that drive and focus is really helping us move forward with that, and just thinking about the future. We always need to think ahead, you know, and just be prepared, be ready to come home and come back when the time is right.
Yes, mahalo so much for your mana'o and Ike, Archie, and Kylie. Mahalo for joining us and sharing your experiences.
When we come back, our team will explore a new topic, how young people can get involved in their communities to make a difference in this election year.
Aloha and welcome back to this special edition of Spotlight Now with students from Kamehameha Schools Maui campus.
You know, we learned a lot in the first half of the show, and now we're with two new student hosts. Joining us are Caroline Sloper and Jai Viela. Thanks for joining us, guys.
Thanks for having us.
We are so happy that you're here. You know, in the first half of the program today, we heard a lot about the importance of community voice in the restoration of Lahaina, particularly those of young people. Jai, in the second half, why did you want to focus on civic engagement?
I think it was important to focus on civic engagement so we let the young people know that their voices matter in our communities and they're a vital part of our community and the future of our community as well.
And Caroline, how about for you? Why was it important for you folks to focus on this particular topic?
Especially as this is an upcoming election year, we thought it was a prevalent issue to encourage young people to go out and vote and actually cast their ballot.
Yeah, that is so important. We're going to hear more about civic engagement with the two of you hosting that discussion coming up. First now, though, let's take a look at voter turnout and trends here in Hawaii.
In 2022, only 48.7% of registered voters in Hawaii actually voted in the general election. Among the respondents in the latest Imi Pono Wellbeing Survey, Native Hawaiians and non-Hawaiians reported voting at similar rates in the general election, but Native Hawaiians provided different reasons for not voting. Among those who did not vote, 24% said they are not interested in politics, 21% indicated that they think their vote doesn't make a difference, and 12% said that they weren't informed enough.
Now we have Jacob Aki, who is helping to facilitate Get Out the Vote events, and Brandon Ledward, who has done research on voting trends as part of his job as a principal strategist at Kamehameha Schools.
Mahalo for being here.
Thanks for having us.
Mahalo.
Yeah, Brandon, could you share some details about some of the things that are stopping people from going out and voting?
Sure. You're right, not enough people are voting. When we look at the data from voter turnout rates, for the past 20 years, it fluctuates between 50 to 70%. And that's really different from the 1960s when about 80 to 90% of registered voters would cast a ballot. So when we survey folks and ask them why they're not voting, they tell us a few things. One, they say they're not that interested in politics. They also say it's hard to find credible information about the candidates. And some of them do feel that their voice doesn't matter, which we know isn't true. And under that, you know, there's been some high-profile scandals involving public officials that is really eroding confidence in the political process and our institutions.
Yeah, I think it's important that we know what's the barriers that are there that are stopping people from voting. But can you tell us a little bit about, is the government or any local communities doing anything to help these people get educated?
Yeah, you know, I think for a long time, many of the Native Hawaiian serving orgs like OHA, CNHA, and several others have had this long-standing program of trying to get people registered to vote. These programs date back to the early 2000s and really aiming at how do you get people to vote, educating them on who's running for office, understanding how to vote. But I think, you know, as much of these programs have been out there for a really long time, I think one of the issues is that people aren't paying attention. And I think one of the reasons why, you know, is because they're too busy trying to put food on the table. They're working two jobs. So we really need to look at how do we make voting easier for them? How do we get them the information they need so that they can get out there and vote?
Yeah, that's thank you.
I know you've been working on Walk to the Box campaigns. Have you been able to see any increase in voting turnout from those campaigns that you have been a part of?
Yeah, you know, I mean, one of the most inspiring things is that not only are we seeing the students come out, but we're also seeing the families. We're seeing the parents. We're seeing the grandparents. And I'm always one to say that if you get the kids involved, the families are going to get involved. So that's why I think many of the efforts that we've been pushing forth is really aiming at the kids and at the students and with folks like you. Because once your family see that you are engaged and that you care about what's going on, they're going to take a major interest as well.
Yeah, and that's why we chose this segment and to get young people involved. Can you tell us how can we engage our communities?
Yeah, I mean, it starts, like Jacob said, kind of in the home, just having conversations, you know, around the family table, talking with your friends. And schools can do a lot in this regard in terms of fostering civic engagement. You know, there's a big movement towards project-based learning that puts learning kind of in the community, the setting of the community, and uses real-world experiences, and it lets students study things that they're really passionate about. So when you start to bring those topics into the classroom, into the home, then you foster a sense of kuleana that I think is really important to drive civic engagement in the future.
Yeah, thank you for that. Do you have any suggestions for students who have trouble reaching these programs in their schools, and what are some ways that they can do outreach to get informed decisions on these candidates?
Yes, absolutely. And Jacob can add too. But I mean, it starts by just looking around. There's a lot of schools that are leading sort of at the vanguard of civic engagement. A lot of our charter schools, were started founded from a political process, strongly community engaged. So they're great examples to go to. But I would say, there's networks that students have to find out like what's happening in your school, like how can we bring that in? And again, you don't have to wait for someone else to make that change. You can advocate it for yourself in your school. As student body leaders like you folks are.
And I think social media is another great way. Many candidates, many people running for these different spots are actually going on social media to target young folks like you. So going out there and trying to understand who's running and what the issues are is another critical way. So.
Yeah, that's important information for us to know. Can you tell us how effective has these measures been, and did we see it in the voting turnout?
Yeah, I think 2022 was the first year that we had a all-male voting, and I think we did see a increase as compared to 2020. So voting has never become any easier. It comes right to your mailbox. But I think as we move on, we really need to keep it going and let folks know when to vote, when to return your ballot, and when do the voter service centers open.
Yeah, awesome. It's awesome to see how many easier ways there are for residents to get engaged with their communities. Are there any other methods that people can use to get engaged in their communities besides the actual voting process?
Yeah, I mean, I think civic engagement is wider than just voting. Voting is an important way to express yourself politically. But from the survey data that we collect, we find really impressive levels of civic engagement happening. For instance, half of Hawaii's residents have made a donation to a community effort that was important to them. 25% have wrote or spoke to an elected official about an issue that they care about. So again, there's visible things that we see like Red Hill, but there's also things that are happening kind of on the daily where folks are taking the time to just share or educate someone else on an issue that's important to them, taking to social media as we've seen. And all those things I think are wonderful expressions of civic engagement, which is really a part of Hawaii's history. When you go back and you zoom out, our history has been full of political engagement.
I think another great way to get involved is to go down to the legislature and to participate in that process. It's never been easier. All of the hearings, all of the floor sessions are streamed live. You can actually testify from the comfort of your own home, your own car. So I mean, there's no way, or there's never been more ways for folks to get involved there. So trying to understand what the issues are at the state ledge, voicing your concerns there, and even writing a email to your local rep, to let he or she know about the issues that really matter to you. So ledge is definitely one way, and even on Maui, the Maui County Council.
Yeah, mahalo for that.
Thank you. We know that in Hawaii you can register to vote as early as 16. Do you think that helps our young people get involved, and have we seen data that helps that?
Definitely. So I think about 2/3 of the eligible population in Hawaii are registered to vote, so we still can make up some ground there. And what we do know is that schools play an important job in this too, right? Educating folks, getting them aware of their opportunities to become engaged. I think it's still early to see, but one of the best things that I think we've witnessed is that Hawaii has incorporated voter registration into the application of driver's licenses and state IDs. So again, it's really easy to get registered. And we also have laws that allow you to register and vote on the same day. So there is really nothing stopping you.
Yeah, I mean, what we saw last year was there was a number of people who wanted to register on the same day. So we've definitely seen a lot of that. But I think another big thing that we need to really get folks to do is to really, if you're moving to a different home, make sure you update your voter status, because oftentimes people are like, hey, I didn't get my ballot, but it's because they didn't change their residential address. So, making sure that you check your voter status every single year, I think is another way to really ensure that you get your ballots when the ballots come.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love how you actually make sure that you kind of check up on your voting status, just because if it comes to election year and you're not ready to vote, your voice won't be heard. Yep. I was wondering if you could tell us some more about how residents can kind of make a more informed decision not only through their schools, but if there's any other community programs that can help them a little bit.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of different opportunities for these political candidates to share their concerns or to share the issues that really matter to them. So whether it's them showing up to your local neighborhood board meeting, whether they're out there having a coffee hour, those are really opportunities for you to engage with those candidates. And in many of the candidates that I've worked with and many of the candidates that I know, they're so willing to talk to people, and especially talking with folks like you who really care about what's going on. So I think, engaging with them directly, whether it's face-to-face, whether it's on social media, I think is a great way.
Yeah, I think that's really important. I mean, the Office of Elections has amazing resources on their website, so you can figure out who's running for positions in your district. I would say choose wisely, be a critical consumer in that case, because look for nonpartisan sources.
Yep.
Local newscasts do a great job profiling each of the candidates, and it is important, again, to listen to what the candidates are saying, but you can go back to their voting records as well if they're incumbents and see what their positions have been too.
Yeah.
Thank you for that information. Before we continue our conversation, let's check in with a couple of Kamehameha Schools Maui graduates who have been actively encouraging young people to vote.
Civic engagement in Hawaii is an essential element in ensuring the well-being and prosperity of our ever-changing lahui. However, one issue we face is the shortage of civic engagement from the future generations of Hawaii. This pressing issue has inspired a Kamehameha Schools Maui alum from the class of 2023, Mahie Zine, to take initiative and voice to her peers the significance of this issue and what civic engagement means to her.
I would define civic engagement as being politically active and being a registered voter, and as well as being up to date and informed on the issues happening in our community.
Mahie's concern for this issue drove her to not only educate her peers, but to get them involved as well by participating in the 2022 Walk to the Box campaign. The Walk to the Box campaign is an event with the purpose of getting people involved in the political environment of Hawaii by encouraging voting. Fellow classmate Rage Velez was amongst those who took part in their kuleana to get civically engaged.
I turned 18 before 2022. Before the 2022 election, I was able to join the Walk to the Box campaign and vote along with some of my classmates.
Although events like these exist, there is still a lack of involvement from the majority of people in Hawaii, especially in younger individuals. But why is this the case? Mahie and Rage offer their words of advice and encouragement.
There's always work to be done, especially by the younger generation. We are the ones that are going to feel the lasting effects, and it's our kuleana to aloha aina and to understand what's happening in our community and how we can help and understand our role as citizens, as voters, and as kanaka to help perpetuate our culture and uplift our community.
As a member of our lahui, I feel that it is important to connect aloha aina to the political climate that we have today.
Moving towards the future of Hawaii, encouraging more people to become civically engaged will greatly contribute to the thriving of our lahui. Something as simple as learning about the people running for election or even teaching others about the importance of getting involved can make a difference. Anyone can contribute to the prosperity of our island home. This is Cadence Merritt reporting for Kamehameha Schools Maui.
That video was an awesome video that showcased lots of our young leaders who take an effort and make a change in our communities. What were your two thoughts on that?
I think it's really inspiring to see that people like you, young people, are really taking the mantle and really getting involved in what's going on. I think for many people, they see politics as something where it's kind of old people, in there. But, getting young people like you to the table with a different perspective and a really understanding of what are the issues that matter to you folks, I think is something that is needed, and is definitely something that we want to see more of.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I mean, it's so inspiring. I mean, as a parent myself, that's the kind of kuleana I want my kids to carry. And when I look at that video, I think I saw you in one of those shots too, was basically, I see, folks, hahai ina alehele o na kupuna. I see young people following in the footsteps of their kupuna. Because civic engagement is, like I said, a huge part of our history. And with that, I understand that Jai and Caroline, you guys have led a voter registration campaign on your school too. So can you tell us about that?
Yeah, so Jai and I went into our senior seminar classes and we gave a short presentation about the importance of voting, why it's important that especially we young people are going out to the ballots and casting our ballots, and just we got 100% of our senior class registered to vote, which was amazing. But yeah.
You know, I think it's really efforts like that we really want to see more of, because data does show that when young people start to vote at a early age, it becomes a lifelong habit and something that they do year after year, right? So the more young people we can get involved, the more we can get you folks practicing this engagement, you know, we're really going to see more and more of you folks, whether it's getting involved within your communities or even in, you know, even in public office one day.
Yeah, I hope so. I mean, it really is true, though. There's a myth out there that Native Hawaiians don't vote. And I can tell you from the studies that we've done that Native Hawaiians say that they're voting at similar rates to non-Hawaiians. And so when I look at the work that you guys are doing at Kamehameha Schools and Jacob, that you're leading in our communities, it's really, again, carrying on a tradition and a legacy of civic engagement that our kupuna have really, I think, fostered and really expect from us.
Yeah, you know, I mean, one of the things that many people don't know is that, you know, even following the overthrow and into the early territory days, our people were so engaged. I mean, the first speaker of the territorial house was a Native Hawaiian. The first couple of mayors for this county were Native Hawaiian, and not just any Native Hawaiian. They were people who were staunch loyalists to the Queen. So they understood that if they were to advance their people, if they were to advocate for their people, they had to get involved. And one of the cool things that I recently learned was that, you know, many of our kupuna, the way they would campaign is a little different, right? Today it's the fancy videos, it's, you know, getting out there and talking to folks. But in the days of our kupuna, they were composing mele. Kuhio had several mele written about him, about how he goes to DC and he fights for our people. Willie Koki, Robert Wilcox, our first delegate to the U.S. Congress, he had many mele, right? So it'd be cool to see, right? How do we as Kanaka take a twist on, yes, we have to blend with what's going on here and, you know, and the modern ways of doing things. But if we go back to our roots, I mean, it would be so great to see Jai running for office and we see folks writing mele about him, you know? So, I mean, this long history of civic engagement goes back to the kingdom, into the territory days. And when we as a people saw the most progress, it was when Native Hawaiians were in power. In 1980, when we had a Native Hawaiian in Congress, we had a Native Hawaiian Chief Justice, the Senate President, the Speaker, all of these people were Native Hawaiian and they were inspired by the Hawaiian Renaissance. So I'm a strong believer that when we get people like you in office, when we get our people in office, that's when we're going to see the most progress.
Yeah, and I think that Hawaiians need to know that their voice matters, and even young people. And what advice can you give to young people if they feel like just their one vote doesn't matter, and if they don't cast their vote, it's fine?
Well, it's a pet peeve of mine when they say that their vote does not matter. You look at the Senate District 22 race in 2022. It went to a recount, and the incumbent only won by 40 votes. There's been several races in recent years where it's come down to a handful of votes. So your vote does matter, but I think more importantly, your voice matters, right? And in our culture, we're taught that our voice has mana, and it's important for us to understand what that kuleana is and to kohopono, right? To get out there and vote for the people that we think is going to do the best for us.
Yeah, well said. I mean, I think at the end of the day, you know, voting, again, is one way to express a political opinion. Yeah. But there's so much community organizing that is happening. I mean, you guys on your campuses, Jacob in the community, that, you know, you don't have to wait every 2 or 4 years to become politically active. I think it's really important to host community conversations around topics and issues that are important to you. And when you do that, I think you bring more attention to issues. Yeah. You educate yourself and you educate others. And I think we do take steps towards a brighter future for Hawaii, which again, I think as young people, you guys really, we got to set you up. We got to set you up for that. And these, I guess, really deep values of aloha aina and kuleana are the things that I believe will push us into that brighter future.
Yeah. Yeah, you know, I think another thing that's super critical, right, is that, you know, even though, you know, people think that politics or getting involved with this kind of work isn't for young people, it really is. Yeah. Many of our political leaders, many of our government leaders, they say that they're doing this for the future generation. So I always tell those folks that, well, if you're doing it for them, make sure that they're at the table. Make sure that their voice is present here. Make sure that you're doing what you can to raise them up. Just like our chiefs did back in the day, right? They would shepherd and they would raise the next generation, teach them everything that they know, so that when their time comes to take on these kuleana or to take on these roles, that they are ready. And so making sure that we make a place at the table for you folks, I think is super critical. But the other thing too is, just jump in there, right? Is that there's no roadmap on how to do this, right? The way to do this is to get involved, to get engaged, and to speak up when you feel that your voice needs to be heard.
Yeah, thank you. I can tell that myth that Hawaiians don't really vote, that's kind of obviously a fake. I was wondering if you have any advice for how we can kind of shepherd our people from activism into the political landscape and actually using their voices in a more effective way to actually get things moving forward into the future.
Yeah, I mean, it starts in small spaces, right? I mean, some of the research we've done, we also see that lack of trust that people feel towards maybe the federal and state government. There's high levels of trust in community leaders, folks who are leading nonprofits, those folks who are maybe sitting on neighborhood boards at a much smaller scale. And so I do think part of our opportunity in this space is to allow people to start, to become involved in those spaces, shine a light on them, and show that you can make change at that level. You can hopefully recast or maybe fix some of the distrust that happens as you get into higher levels of government. But it really does start with character. And that's why I feel like in an educational setting, when you focus on civic engagement, you're talking about a whole child. You're talking about, not just the skills and dispositions they'll need in a career, but you're talking about the values and the character that they're going to need to ultimately, put their perspective on our future. So that's what I think is really important nowadays.
Yeah, and as I shared, right, I think it's important for people like us to make sure that there is a place at the table for you folks. But I think, what's even more important, is, really making sure that, our communities are reflective of, the issues that really matter to you folks. I mean, young people make up a large part of our population, and I think our elected officials need to reflect that. But I would say that if there's an issue that you really care about, jump right on in. I mean, I'm always one to say that we need to make sure that there is Native Hawaiian leaders at every table, not just in politics. We need Native Hawaiian doctors, we need Native Hawaiian lawyers, we need Native Hawaiian leaders in every single field. Because if we're going to advance and move our people forward, it's not just going to be from the political realm. It's needing to make sure that Native Hawaiian voices, Native Hawaiian issues are at every single table where major decisions are being made. So whether you're a doctor, whether you're a teacher, whether you are a lawyer, you're making sure that you do what you can to not just push yourself forward, but to push our entire people forward. Because as Kanaka, I believe that we have a kuleana, right? This kuleana to advance our people, and the only way that we can achieve that kuleana is by making sure that we're all in the same va'a, paddling in the same direction, moving forward, and ultimately making sure that our voices are heard.
Mahalo for joining us, Jacob and Brandon, and for the great discussion and insight about how we can get involved in our communities and civic engagement among youth.
Thanks to you folks and the awesome work that you guys are doing.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Here's a look at a couple of key dates for voters. The primary election will be held on Saturday, August 10th, and the general election will take place on Tuesday, November 5th.
Well, great job, everyone. We learned so much today about two very important topics for Maui and really for all of Hawaii.
Hokuala and Kamale, what were some of the takeaways from your discussion about the Maui wildfires?
Yeah, I just thought it was so amazing to see another perspective and just how the community has changed and how it's going to continue to change over this time.
Yeah, I think it's really important that, us as a future generation come together and start to build ways in unity to, see the future and what the plans are there for us.
Yeah, and Jai and Caroline, I really enjoyed your segment about civic engagement. What do you hope comes out of this?
We hope that we empower young people, that they have a voice and that they have a place at the table and they have a place in our community where they can share their voice and help change our community for the better.
Yeah.
I hope we're able to see in the statistics an increase in voter registration, voter turnout, and ballots being cast in not only the general election, but also the primary election.
Well, you all did such a good job. I got to ask you guys, first time on television, how does it feel to be TV hosts?
It's been so amazing. It's just such a blessing to have this opportunity to be here with you guys and with all the amazing crew here. So mahalo nui.
Yeah, great job. Any future in television for anybody here? No?
But we're really thankful for the opportunity to showcase what happens on Maui and the work that we're trying to do in our communities, and we're thankful for the Hawaii News Now team for having us. So thank you so much.
Well, thank you for all of your hard work. You guys were all amazing. And of course, the Kamehameha Schools Maui students who all worked on this show. So much work went on behind the scenes, so we want to acknowledge that. And of course, mahalo to the kumu who helped put everything together as well.
Now we have one more Spotlight Now Student Edition coming up, so make sure you stay tuned. Mahalo.